Hi, Luca. Today in science, we're going to talk about sources of thermal energy. And that just means things that produce heat. Where does it get its energy from? So, the other day, you went on a scavenger hunt and you found lots of different things that produce thermal energy, lots of different things that made heat. And today, we're going to talk about where those things are getting their thermal energy from. So, I've made a fancy chart here that can help us decide where an object is getting its thermal energy from. So first I want to talk about this with you, and then there'll be an activity at the end, okay? So on this chart, I have 5 different ways that objects can get heat. The first one is friction, and that's just a fancy word for rubbing two surfaces together. So I gave some examples. When you rub your hands like this, do it right now. It gets really hot. You can feel your hands starting to warm up, and that is producing heat through friction. You are rubbing your hands together, and it's making heat. Some other things that can rub together to make heat are tires when they're rubbing on the road. When you're rubbing sandpaper over a surface, it makes heat. It produces thermal energy. So that's friction. Another source of thermal energy is electricity. And here, those are appliances that run on electricity can produce heat. So, appliances are different things in your house, like an oven, like a dryer. What else did you say? A microwave. All of those run on electricity and they made heat. Even a light bulb. If you got close to a light bulb, you could see that it gave off heat. It's using electricity and it's making heat. So that's the second one. The one down here is a chemical reaction. And a chemical reaction is when two substances change to make a new substance. So when two materials are combined together and they make something new. For example, fire. Digesting food inside your stomach, you might not realize, but that is using energy and that is producing heat inside your stomach when you digest. Hand warmers. Have you ever gone outside and put one of those hand warmers in your hand? You have to kind of crinkle it up and then it starts to make heat. That is because of a chemical reaction inside those little pouches. So that would be a chemical reaction. Another one we have is the sun. That's simple, right? The sun is making heat all the time. And sometimes you see solar panels on top of houses. And that means that they're using the energy from the sun to get electricity in their house. So the sun is making that heat, that energy. And then the last one is the interior of the earth, the inside of the earth. If you were to dig farther than you could into the center of the earth, it would be really hot. So things that come from the interior of the earth produce heat. For example, volcanoes, right? The lava is coming from the inside of the earth. And when it comes out, it's really hot. It's producing heat. The same thing with geysers, right? The water that comes from the inside of the earth sprays out and it's hot. And the same thing with hot springs, right? Pools of water that are hot because they came from the inside of the earth. So those are our main sources of energy, okay? Friction can produce heat energy. Electricity can produce heat. The sun, a chemical reaction can make thermal energy. And also things from the interior, the inside of the earth, can produce heat. Okay, so I'm going to send this to you so that you can have this to look at and the examples to help you with your activity. Before I let you do your activity, I want to look at some of the things you found on your thermal energy scavenger hunt, and I want us to decide what type of thermal energy it uses. So the first one you said was the sun. That's simple, right? I even have sun right on this poster. So the sun is a source of thermal energy. The next thing you said was a wood burning fireplace. That's a good one. So I know if we go through each of these, friction. Is the fire rubbing together to make heat? Not really. The next one to look at would be electricity. Is the fire plugged in to the electricity to make the heat? Some fireplaces are, but you're talking about a wood burning fireplace, so that one doesn't use electricity. The sun. Does the sun have anything to do with that fireplace? No, not really. Let's look at the next one. A chemical reaction. Is the fire made from a chemical reaction? Yes, because that wood that's burning is combining with the oxygen gas in the air, and those materials are combining together to make a new substance, to make fire. So that wood burning fireplace is a chemical reaction. The next thing you said was a stove. Well, I know that a stove is an appliance that runs on electricity. Okay, so that means that the stove gets its thermal energy from electricity. The next one you said was an oven. An oven is the same thing. It's an appliance that gets its energy from electricity. So, another one for that category. You also said a microwave, a toaster, and a dryer. Those are all appliances that run on electricity. So, most of the things on your list, their source of thermal energy was electricity, okay? So, awesome job with that scavenger hunt. Those are all sources of thermal energy. So, next you're going to work on an activity and you have to look at objects and tell what source of thermal energy they use, or if they even produce heat. Some of them might trick you, okay? So, think about if that object is actually giving off heat and where that object gets its heat from. Does it get it from friction? Does it get it from electricity? Does it get it from the sun, a chemical reaction, or the inside of the earth? Okay? I hope you have a great time with that activity.